Hey cycling community, CG here. This is the last week of my current training block and I'm very thankful for it. Reason being, this block has been a change of pace and therefore a lot tougher than my recent previous training blocks. It involved practice races and over-unders. I'm going to be talking about my rest week. I'm going to be talking about the FTP test I'm going to be doing later on today in the middle of my group ride. I'm also going to give you an AFIB update and a broken bone update, so stay tuned. Sorry guys, that's the last time I scheduled an FTP test in the middle of a group ride. Keep going, but I'm going to slow up and start when it starts climbing. So keep going. I've been on this group ride for about an hour and the pace is again starting to go up. My test is going to begin in about a quarter mile, so I'm having these guys go up ahead because I know I'm going to catch them during my test. Let's talk about what led up to this week. You heard in the intro that this is my rest week. If I tried to have another training week like I did during one of the first 3 weeks of this block, I would just dig a hole for myself. What I didn't do was sit on the couch all week. I still was on the bike, but I was on the bike a lot less. I had a lot of hard bike time on the weekend, and then on Wednesday, rather than doing my over-unders and doing 3 sets of practice laps, I just spun easy and I did 2 sets of practice laps. I'll talk later on about what I did Tuesday and Friday. And that all leads to today. I'm rested and looking forward to the test. The last time I did an FTP test was 2 months ago, and that came in at 276 watts for the 20 minutes. And I was pretty happy about that because last year, my 20-minute FTP was about 281 watts. During this off-season, all my FTP tests have been done on the flats. This FTP test was going to be done on climbs. Well, predominantly climbs. There's going to be some flats in it, and there's going to be some downhills. And the downhills are going to be especially tough for me because you got to keep your wattage up even during those sections. I'll talk more about the test and the results a little bit later. Right now, let's talk about my current AFIB situation. It's been about 16 months since my last AFIB incident. During this past off season, my heart's been pretty quiet. And when I mean quiet, I'm talking about very, very few skip beats or palpitations. Usually I'll experience those more during the season when my training is a lot more intense. And this past season was no exception. Now, when I got in that crash and was in the hospital during the last half of the season, I was kind of wondering how my heart was going to react. But it was pretty quiet. I think I just had one acceleration, and then after that, nothing. Enter this new training block, which started around the beginning of July. Now I'm starting to get a few palpitations and skip beats. It's interesting to note that I got those during the first week especially, and they decreased the second week and decreased even more the third week. That tells me that my body is adapting to the workload and therefore putting less stress on my heart. So we'll see what happens with the next training block, which is even going to be tougher. I had an appointment with the ortho this past Tuesday. I wasn't expecting much, but just in case, I brought my gym clothes just in case a miracle happened and I can go to the gym and start working out with the weights. They took the x-rays, they pulled them up, I took a look at them and I thought, okay, not much change here. But then when the PA saw them, he said, hey, looking good. You can start going to the gym now. This is what my PA explained. On the left is the x-ray just taken this past Tuesday. On the right is the x-ray 2 months ago. When you compare the broken sections, it's a lot darker on the right side. There's a lot more opacity on the left side. The opacity is from calcium filling in the fibrous material. So you have the callosats formed, and now the calcium is starting to fill in there. Now you may take a look at that and say, that looks like it's still broken. No gym for you. What was explained to me is that x-rays always show worse in this type of situation. If you want to get a true look at what's really going on, then you got to cut into me and observe firsthand. And that's not going to happen. After we talked about some details on how I was to go lifting. Start off nice and slow, no 500-pound benches. Not that I can never do a 500-pound bench. The concept of my weightlifting is that the stress created on my collarbone by my workouts is supposed to stimulate even more bone growth. Back to the FTP test. This was tough, as they all should be. Even though I had one of my teammates on my wheel once I caught up to him, and he was giving me encouragement every so often, the main driver was I didn't want to fail. I didn't want to go below the 276 watt average that I attained 2 months previous. When I got to the 16-minute mark, I was tired. I was thinking, man, I sure wish this was 20 minutes. But I still had 4 minutes to go. And that last 4 was a struggle. But it was all worth it. I came in with an increase of 15 watts to 291 watt average. And that's 10 watts better than I had last season. Don't ever schedule an FTP test in the middle of a group ride. I still had 2 hours to get back to the car. And to say that I wasn't fresh was an understatement. The next day, I elected not to do the Cat 3-4 race because of the stress it would have had in my heart. I hope you enjoyed this video and got something out of it, especially for those of you training with power. Scheduling your FTP tests on a regular basis will not only give you an idea on how you're progressing, but it'll also keep your training zones updated. I'll have a Strava to this ride linked in the description below. Remember, comment, like, subscribe. The Cycling Greek.
Oh, Mother of Mary, that was hard. I was telling him at 16 minutes I got tired, a lot weaker, and I was thinking this would be a good time to stop for 20 minutes.